like you to imagine something with me. Many of you have probably had packages and gifts around your house this week, right? You spend a lot of time and effort bringing gifts and wrapping them all up to look pretty and passing them out. And most of you have probably torn all those gifts open and have brought a big pile of wrappings to the trash already. We won't have our Christmas till next Saturday, so we're forcing our grandchildren to wait, But I'd like you to imagine something with me. It's always nice to get a Christmas gift, isn't it? Well, imagine that I got this gift for Christmas, but I haven't opened it yet. And I actually got it for Christmas a year ago, and it's still unopened. It's still wrapped. For some of you, having an unopened, wrapped gift would drive you crazy, right? Some of you like to go around under the tree when nobody's looking and shake the gifts to see what's there, right? At least get some idea. Now, this doesn't smell like myrrh or frankincense or anything either, but it's a very precious gift, and it's really worth a lot, and it'll be a real blessing in my life, but I'm just keeping it on the shelf. Maybe next year I'll open it, or maybe the year after. Can you imagine having a Christmas gift and not opening it, leaving it on the shelf, passing it year by year, and never receiving what's in that present, what's in that gift? Well, sad to say, some people do that. With the giving of gifts at Christmas time, there are some gifts we receive which we really love and really desire, and some gifts we receive that we're eager to go back to the store and return it. Maybe it's the wrong size or the wrong color, or maybe we just like returning things, right? And sometimes we have certain gifts. Remember, Seinfeld talked about it, for some of you who are a little more mature, that we re-gift. You kind of pass on to somebody else. Or maybe a white elephant. I've never actually seen a white elephant. I've seen some gray ones. But a white elephant gift, and what do you do with a white elephant? You wait for the next party, the next program to pass it on to somebody else to get rid of it, right? Get it off the shelf, right? But imagine what it would be like if you had a gift that was good and valuable and precious, but you left it wrapped. You never unwrapped your Christmas gift, your Christmas present. Let's look at the gospel in John chapter 1. John chapter 1. And you'll figure out where I'm going somewhere along the line. In my Bible, I don't know how it fits with yours, but it's page 1645. Somewhere in there, all right? John does not tell the Christmas story the same way that the other Gospels do. Mark doesn't really start with the birth of Jesus. Matthew talks about it from Joseph's point of view, how the angel came to Joseph, and then later in chapter 2 about the wise men. Luke tells us the major part of the Christmas story, and it's quite likely that Luke got his teaching about it from Mary, about Mary and Elizabeth, and about the birth, the journey to Bethlehem, and then the presentation in the temple. John talks about it in a more overview, actually writing more to the Greeks about the Word, the Logos, God's plan and purpose. And he says this in John chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Now, if you remember in Genesis chapter 1, when God created the universe, he used a word to make it happen. Let there be light, the Word, right? He was with God in the beginning, and through him things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In other words, there is nothing that exists that he did not make. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not understood it or has not overcome it. There came a man who was sent from God. His name was John. We call him John the Baptist. He came as a witness to testify about that light, concerning that light, so that through him all men might believe. He himself, John, was not the light, but he only came to bear witness to the light. The true light that gives light to every man was coming into the world. He, Christ, the Word, was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who received him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children born not of natural descent, nor of human decision or a husband's will, but born of God. The Word, Christ, became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, glory of the one and only, the only begotten Son of God, who came from the Father and is full of grace and truth. John testified concerning him. He cried out, saying, "This is he of whom I said, he who comes after me has surpassed me, because he was before me." From the fullness of his grace, we have all received one blessing after another. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, but God, the one and only, the only begotten Son, who is at the Father's side, has made God known. Verse 16 says, "From the fullness of his grace, we have received one blessing after another." We think about what it means. Christmas is a wonderful time of year. It's a time of happiness and joy, and in the midst of the season where we're in the darkest days of the year, the day is short and the night is long, and the weather gets cold, and we've already had some pretty cold weather to begin the season. And yet at this time of year, we put decorations and lights out in our yard and lights on the tree in our house, and a symbol of evergreen, of life, of vitality when all the other leaves have fallen off the trees. It's a season of joy. We sing some beautiful songs in the Christmas carols. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Come, let us adore him, and all those great Christmas songs. It's a season of care and kindness and love, and it kind of brings people together, and we send cards out to friends to remember them. And there are some folks we haven't talked to in 20 years, but we send them a Christmas card, and they send a Christmas card to let them know, and we know that we're still thinking about each other and still caring about each other. There's lots of kindness and love that surrounds the Christmas season. And like the kids we talked about, Christmas is a season of giving. And so it's not so much, as kids, we were always looking to see, what am I going to get? What am I going to have? What's that under the tree? And now more we spend our time and energy looking at what we can give and how we can bring a smile to others. And we'd like to hear say, "Oh man, this is great. This is just what I wanted." And to bring pleasure to others. And not even within our own family and friendships, but we drop money in the kettles and we send gifts to help to those who are hungry. We have a food pantry to be able to share with others. It's a time of mercy and of kindness that we want to help and care for others more than at any other time in the year. And so Christmas is a wonderful season of the year. It's a season of joy and of love, of giving, and of giving of ourselves, of doing acts of kindness, and doing things that will make others pleased. And on Christmas Day, we celebrate the greatest gift of all. As one of our dear friends this morning said, it's Jesus' birthday, that day Jesus was born. John, in 2 chapters later, in chapter 3, says in verse 16, "God so loved the world that he gave this gift, his only begotten Son, so that everyone who believes in him will not perish, but has everlasting life." And so today in worship, especially with Matt, we celebrate his testimony of faith. And he's known and loved the Lord for many years, and today he bears witness and encourages us all because he is one who believes in Jesus, right? He's accepted him and received him. And yet John 1 tells us a sad reminder as well, and that's in John 1, verse 11. Some people don't receive God's gift. For them, Christmas is an empty box. Christmas is without hope. Some of them are even militant to try to keep people from talking about the birth of Jesus or get rid of the manger scenes, and even foolish things like saying our school can't have Santa Claus because, after all, that's a Christian symbol, and things like that. And so there are some who do not receive God's gift. Interesting, every year in New York City near Times Square, the American Atheists Club puts up a big billboard. And the billboard this year said, "You can have Christmas without Christ." Okay, some of you know how to spell, so if you take Christ out of Christmas, what do you have left? M-A-S. Nothing. Miss, right? Another billboard even says, "You can X out Christ. Who can celebrate Christmas without Christ?" And underneath, the American Atheist Club said, "Nobody." Who needs Christ? Nobody. Well, in other words, they're saying without Jesus they are nobodies because they don't belong to Christ. And in the midst of all of our celebrations and the joy that we celebrate in the season, there's a sadness there. And I think there's a sadness even in Jesus and in God's heart, and we see that during his public ministry. A rich young man comes to Jesus and said, "What must I do to have eternal life?" And he said, "Sell all you have and follow me. Give it to the poor, follow me." And the man walked away because he wouldn't let go of his wallet, his treasures. And the Bible said Jesus was sad. He's sad when people go away from Christmas or go away from the Word and from the church and the Lord and don't receive God's precious gift. And we don't have to pay $1 million to get it. It isn't something that we have to work hard to earn, but it's a free gift of God's love. And yet, sad to say, there are still so many either have not heard him, received him, or have rejected him and do not believe. And so it's sad to think about living in Christmas without Christ. And it's fine to have all the other parts of our celebration of lights and candles, of songs and all the rest, and giving gifts, and all those are wonderful things because they fit into the spirit of gratitude and of joy and of thankfulness. But we want to remember the great gift of Christmas is to receive Jesus. In John chapter 1, he also says, "The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And to all who received him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to be children of God, born of the will of God. And from his fullness we received one blessing after another." When we receive Jesus, we receive the gift of Christmas, the gift of Christ. And we unwrap that precious gift in our hearts and in our lives, receiving the fullness of God's grace. In John chapter 10, verse 10, Jesus says, "I have come that you may have life abundantly, that your life may be filled with meaning and purpose, with love and grace and joy." And we recognize how much the world needs Jesus, how much we need God's grace and God's love, because the world is messed up. It's been corrupted and polluted by sin. And so there are all kinds of problems we have to deal with, and we'll talk a bit about that tonight. But there are all kinds of struggles and stresses, and I think part of it for all of us, at least for me and probably most people I know, we have a pretty strong pessimistic side. And so if I have 8 great things happen one day and one thing goes wrong, what do I think about? The wrong, right? The trouble, the worry, the fear, instead of being filled with the grace and love of Christ. And sometimes there are real broken worries and heartaches and cancer and other illnesses and things that just weigh us down. And yet, in the midst of that, the Bible says God's light shines into our darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. The darkness of the world cannot overcome the gift of grace we have in Jesus Christ. This week here in the church fellowship and the church family, some have been at the funeral home and in grief. Throughout the year, we've lost some dear friends and loved ones, and we've seen hard times come, and people have had illness and troubles in their life, or some have been laid off of their work, and some have had other conflicts and struggles in their life. And yet the Bible says God's love can pierce and break through the darkness, so the darkness cannot overcome it. Now you need to think about that for a moment and think and realize sometimes we do in fact let the darkness win. Sometimes we kind of yield to the clouds and the storms rather than focusing on the hope and the love and the joy that Jesus brings. In John 1 verse 16 he says, "From the fullness of Christ we have received in his grace one blessing after another." I believe it was Hallmark that used to have a sale or something like that, and the theme was the gift that keeps on giving. The Apostle Paul writes in Ephesians 2, "It is by God's grace you've been saved through faith, and that's not of yourself. It's a gift from God. It's not of works, so it's not something we have to earn or we can boast about. We are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus, to do good works, to live a good life, because God has prepared it in advance for us to do." God has prepared it in advance for us. And so to all those who receive Christ, he pours grace in our lives. And these are some of the blessings of Christmas. And part of that, I think, as well, comes in the sense that for some of you, for me, I've been a Christian and celebrated Christmases for many, many years. And there's a danger and a temptation to say, yeah, many more years. Yeah, right. Somebody here is nodding yes when I said many. You know, I used to have red hair way back, you know. The years are getting longer. The numbers are getting higher, right? But there's a danger even for us as Christians to kind of feel like, oh yeah, Christmas again. Okay, a lot of stuff to do, busy schedule, I hope Christmas is over soon, you know, so we can get back to normal. Instead of saying, wait a minute, when I come to Christmas, and not just Christmas Day, but the reality of the birth of Jesus, my Savior, God is going to pour more grace and more blessing in my life today than he did even yesterday. I want to be nearer to Christ now than I was last Christmas, or last week, or even yesterday. Because the great Christmas present Jesus is present with us. Right? Jesus promises to Matt, to you and me, to all, that he will always be with us. He will always be present. When we were kids in school, or if you go to certain meetings and they take a roll and they take attendance, and they go down the list and they start usually with the A's and the B's, and then finally they get to the S's and the V's and the Z's, right? And they call your name and you say present or here, right? And so when we call upon Jesus in our prayers, he says, here, present, I am with you always, the Bible says, even to the end of the world. If you look out the window a moment, the world's still here. Trees are still there, and the street lights, and the clouds, and the cars, and life is going on, so that means Jesus is still present with us, right? Hebrews chapter 13, the Bible picks up that phrase from the Old Testament and emphasizes it. He starts with the word never. So we can say with confidence, Jesus says, never will I leave you. Never will I forsake you. I will be with you always to the world ends. And it's nice to have all the other presents of new shirts and socks and ties and toys and electronics and all the rest and candy and cookies, and I could go on, but the greatest present is knowing Jesus is present with me and with you always, always, always. David, way back in Psalm 23, said, surely God's goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Forever. And so no matter where you are today or last year or in the year to come, no matter what circumstances, on good days and bad, on days when things are happy and on days when things are tough, realize Christmas present. Christ is present. Jesus is with me here and now. And it's great and comfortable to know he's with me when I'm sitting at the table with my family and we're having that Sunday pot roast and all the mashed potatoes and stuff. But it's also good to know he's present when things are tough, when I'm having a hard day, when there's a conflict or a tension or there's terrorism or there's things going on in the world or when there's storms and troubles, to know Jesus is present with us. And he says, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. No matter what the circumstances of your life, God is always present. He is always with you. He will never leave you or forsake you. Whatever happens to you today, whatever happens to you tomorrow, the name God gave to Joseph for the baby was Emmanuel. God is with you. God is with us. God will always be there. He will always care. Romans chapter 8 says, in all things God is working for your good. He is watching over you, and he's going to care for you in life, and he's going to lead you to glory. And nothing in the past, present, or future, nothing in heaven or hell will separate us from the love of God in Jesus Christ our Lord. And John 1 verse 16 says, from the fullness of his love, from the fullness of his grace, we have one blessing after another. So God's Christmas gift to you today is Jesus. And that gift that gives you more grace today than you had yesterday, and more grace tomorrow than you have today. And the comfort and the warmth of heart, the faith and love that knowing whether you're doing well or whether you're stumbling and falling, his love is always with you. And he will continue to love you until he says, welcome home, my son and daughter. Come into the Father's kingdom. I'm great to have you here. I'm glad you're home with me. Amen. Dear Lord Jesus, there's so many things that go on in our life and in our world and in our busyness that it's easy for us to forget or ignore or lose the reminder that you are with us, that your love and care are so precious to us, that you will never fail us, and that there's nothing that can happen in our lives that will separate us from your precious love. Help us, Lord Jesus, to remember the greatest present, that you are present, that your love is always with us, that your mercy will be our strength and our guide. Help us to walk with you, Jesus, in faith and love, and to confess our faith so that others may come to know you as well. In the precious name of Jesus, amen.